Chelsea Green!
Nope, not Valley Girl enough. Try again.
Oh yeah, good point. Chelsea Green!
Yikes! I feel like you're getting worse each time.
Oh, let's hear you try. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, Queen Diva Marie. It sounds like you took Alvin the Chipmunk and the lead singer of Creed, you put them in the blender, you turned that baby on, and you mixed them together, and you threw that horrible noise right into my eardrums. That was scary.
Well, let's just be honest. I don't think anyone can announce Chelsea's name quite like Samantha Irvin.
Chelsea Green!
Oh my goodness. It sounds like you got the hang. Okay, that's a little rude, but I... Really? You're gonna join in on this too? I'm surrounded by queens! Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews like today's very exciting review of Elite Series 108, Chelsea Green, both the regular and the chase versions. Now these are special to me because I actually met Chelsea at StarCast 2022 when I attended SummerSlam in Nashville, and she was super sweet, super cool, and yeah, I was just really wanting her to have an Elite come out because her basics were pretty good, but she deserves an Elite, and now we have two, so I'm super excited to review these. And also, these were supposed to be here last week, but they got delayed for whatever reason in Nashville, but I'm happy to have them with me. So with that being said, let's open them up and take a closer look. Alright, so let's start off talking about the packaging. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is I've said this since I've reviewed this new Elite Stop packaging is it is super flimsy, super cheap, and I'm surprised that this hasn't happened to me sooner. So this packaging, it looks like it just exploded when in all actuality, it was in a box that was a little too small, but it just got compressed a little bit and everything just erupted. It's ripped at the top, that plastic bubble is completely dented, the side is kicked in, and it's not a big deal because I am going to open it and review it today, but that's frustrating because what if I'm an MOC collector and you have to worry that much about a package being completely demolished? But yeah, that's kind of what you get with that new style packaging from Mattel. It's just super flimsy, super cheap, and it's really hard to find mint examples of this packaging that looks good. So I would definitely order Defenders if you're an MOC collector because, I mean, like I said, it didn't take much for this thing to just completely explode. But we're not going to look at this packaging because it is the same as the standard release. So taking a closer look, we have that kind of open bubble cutting off her legs, showing Chelsea with all her awesome gear that she comes with. Also her extra hands, which is neat. She looks great in the package. And what's cool about this is I love how everything is put on her. I do wish they put these hands kind of out of view, kind of hid them, or even put the shush hands on her in the package. That would have made sense. But either way, we do have a nice looking figure in there. We have Chelsea on the side there, the Elite Series, the image of Chelsea on that side, and on the back, if anyone tries to make a hot mess of her path to championship glory, Chelsea Green is ready to speak to the manager. That is very, very cool, and actually that's pretty updated with her gimmick the last few months, I guess you could say, so that's pretty impressive there. Now, looking here, we have her little profile, then we have the rest of the set, so I'm going to open these up and we are going to take a closer look, and let's start off with the regular release. WWE Elite Series 108 Chelsea Green Standard Release. This attire is from the March 27th, 2023 episode of Raw. On this night, the team of Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville defeated Mia Yim and Candice LeRae in a WrestleMania Showcase qualifying tag team match. Some overall first impressions of this figure, I am completely, and I mean completely, blown away, and this figure gets me all fired up. This is what we're all about here in LumberJillville, and there's various reasons why I feel that fired up. Now, first of all, I'm happy that Chelsea finally has an elite. Not only that, she also has the Chase version, so she has two elites. She was so kind and humble in person, and she's so deserving of this. But another thing I'm super excited about is look at this figure, look at the details. I honestly think this figure is taking a gigantic leap forward in the evolution of women's wrestling figures. Now, the first thing I noticed that pertains to that is the hair. Here in LumberJillville for years, I've been saying if Mattel would add some type of unique coloring to the hair, whether it be highlights or whether it be different root colors, I think it would really add to the women's figures instead of just choosing one plain color as the hair. And here it looks like we got detail in the hair coloring, and I'm stoked. I have been saying this for so long. I don't know if Mattel's listening to Mayor Aaron of LumberJillville, but I hope they are, because that's definitely a glaring issue with the women's figures, that it looks like for the first time we get this much detail, the hair looks tremendous. Now, beyond the hair, I mean, look how amazing this figure is. It just stands out. The entrance attire is extravagant. It is unique. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, this black puffy skirt is very similar to that Then Now Forever Becky Elite, but it is a little bit different. It does seem to be the same type material, but this skirt is shaped differently. It's a lot bigger, and actually, it has high quality. It's freaking multiple layered. It is multiple layered, y'all. And I say that because as of late with Mattel, when we get robes, when we get capes, anything to that desire with soft goods, it's usually single layered. I mean, look at the Ultimate Edition Charlotte Flair. That robe is like a lingerie robe. It is so thin. I'm not a fan. But here we got multiple layers, and it really does add to this. I mean, on display, I don't know another figure that looks better than this Chelsea, in my opinion. Now, she does come packaged with these grasping hands, and then separately she has the shush hands. And what's so cool about the shush hands? She has her tattoo on her finger. That is freaking fantastic. Now, what she also comes with is this unique hat. Now, this hat has so much sculpting when you look at it from all different angles that makes it unique, that you really have to hold it in hand to look at that. Now, we have a little silver highlight on the brim going around. The CG is in silver. So as far as overall aesthetics of the figure itself, I honestly think this passes the Asuka as to how it stands out on a shelf. Now, that Asuka Ultimate Edition looks freaking fantastic displayed. But something about this Chelsea, I mean, this just yells, LumberJillville, women's wrestling, we're here to stay, this figure rules. Alright, so as far as the face sculpt and scan goes, I'm going to categorize this as pretty good. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people were jumping all over this sculpt and scan when they first posted images saying, it looks like Carmella, that looks like Mella. In my opinion, it looks nothing like Mella, especially in person when you look at it from different angles. I think it resembles Chelsea pretty good. Now, do I think it's perfect? I do not, and I don't know what it is, but there's something a little bit off with this facial likeness, and I think it might be the sculpt. They might have made the face too long or something, but I do think it's pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. And I like how they added a lot of unique details to her. So her lips are very full in the sculpt. They have lipstick on. We see her little dimples in her cheek sculpt, which is cool. We have that real dark eyeshadow, and then her eyebrows are pretty spot on. So yeah, like I mentioned, you look at certain angles and it looks just like Chelsea, and then certain angles it looks a little bit off, but overall I would say this is a good sculpt and scan. Not perfect, not amazing, but good. Now, the hair is what I'm really excited about, as crazy as that sounds, is this hair has some character to it, y'all. This is what I've been wanting on women's wrestling figures by Mattel for so long. As you can see, she has brown hair on the roots, and it slowly goes into like a dirty, sandy blonde, kind of like blonde highlights. And it looks amazing. I think it looks excellent in person. I absolutely love that. And I hope they continue to do this on the women's wrestling figures, because I'm sick of just the one color hair used on all the women. I absolutely think this is the best the hair has ever looked on a figure, in my opinion, and I'm a big fan. And on top of the hair coloring that I love, the sculpt is really cool. And if you look close, you can even see a little braid going into her hair. So she has hair going over her right and left shoulders, unique to her, and it looks really, really cool. So yeah, I think the face sculpt and scan is pretty dang good, and I absolutely love the hair. Now let's move on to the body sculpt and the attire. All right, so before we get started on the body sculpt and the attire, I just have to cover something right away because it drives me crazy. So Chelsea's legs here are darker than the rest of her body. And the reason is it's supposed to simulate pantyhose or stockings that a lot of the women's wrestlers actually wear. So that's a really cool detail that they add to a lot of women's wrestling figures. And they added it here, which is super cool. Now, I wanted to cover this first because anytime they release a women's figure that has this detail, there's at least a couple people that post and they say, they screwed up. The legs are a different skin color than the rest of the body. You know, the leg tone doesn't match up with the rest of the body. And that drives me absolutely wild. So I do like the detail that they make the legs a lot of times a little bit darker, maybe a shade or two darker than the rest of the body to simulate the pantyhose or stockings, and I think it looks really cool. So just wanted to throw that out there. Now looking at the attire itself, it is super, super unique to Chelsea. We have a lot of unique sculpting here. It goes up and covers one of her shoulders. Now on her arm, it is just all painted on detail, but it's painted on amazing. We do have that color that also simulates like a dark see-through mesh, and it's really executed well here. It really does give the appearance that it is a see-through type mesh. It doesn't look off or anything like that, so I think they did a great job there. I love the blue, silver, and black details here. Now on the top, we have the sculpted opening, and you can kind of see the chest underneath, but there's like a net that is sculpted going across the chest, and that's very, very unique. On the right arm, we have just half a sleeve painted on with detail. Now going down her hands, it goes all the way down her hands and even around her fingers, so the detail painted there is nice. We have the tattoo on the right hand, and on the left hand, we have it coming down, painted around there, which is cool. The bottoms are just painted on, but they're painted on with pretty cool detail here. We do have that see-through mesh type color there, which looks cool. Now, what really stands out to me are the unique boots. So the knee pads are sculpted on, which I think is great. I think it's great because if you would have had them be a separate piece, it would have really thrown off the overall boot aesthetic. Her boot aesthetic kind of frays open at the top, almost like a blossoming flower at the top. That's a weird comparison, boots and flowers. But either way, I'm glad that they did sculpt on the knee pads because it allows for awesome articulation, and also her signature boots look excellent here. I mean, look at the detail here, not only in the shape and the design, but they just look really, really cool. So the body sculpt and the attire is fantastic. Now, I am going to say that I think it's great. I think the body sculpt and the attire is awesome. However, I believe the attire is missing some detail, and it's mostly noticeable on the chase. But this blue attire, which I believe it's listed as purple, let me know in the comments if it's actually purple. I'm colorblind. It looks pure blue to me. It doesn't look purple at all. But I believe she should have kind of some off-colored tiger stripes throughout the attire. So it's a little bit of a detail that's missing. It's not noticeable unless you really look at side-by-side pictures of the actual attire and then this figure, but it is a little disappointing. That would have been really cool to get like those tiger-type stripes going throughout. But yeah, let me know in the comments if this is blue or purple, because I thought it was blue. It says purple online. No idea. WWE Elite Series 108 Chelsea Green Chase version. This attire is from the 2023 Royal Rumble Premium Live event, which took place on January 28th. On this night, Chelsea made her return to WWE, entering 20th in the Women's Royal Rumble and lasting only 5 seconds in the match, but her return was definitely a surprise. Alright, so on to the chase. Now this chase really stands out. This color combination is awesome. However, the first thing I noticed is it's not accurate. Now what I mean by that is if you look at the actual attire, which I'll put an image right here, okay, you can see that it's more of a yellow and pink two-tone, and the orange kind of comes through as the yellow transitions to the pink. Now, I am colorblind, so hopefully I explained that well, but here on the figure itself, it's mostly just pink fading into orange when it should be the pink fading into yellow and the orange kind of in that transition. So that is disappointing because anyone that watches the channel knows that the LJV colors are pink and yellow. If this figure came in pink and yellow, it would be the ultimate, and I mean the ultimate representative of LumberJillville. But this figure does stand out. Either way, it looks fantastic. Now, as I mentioned, this entrance attire of the hat and the puffy skirt are super, super cool. Super, super toyetic. Now, taking it off is easy. Taking the hat off is easy. And we are just going to go straight to the face because the face is the exact same as the regular version, obviously. The only difference between the regular and the chase is the attire, so I'm not going to spend much time here. But yeah, the sculpt and scan on this one, once again, it's good, but not perfect. I love that hair. I love the detailing and the highlights there. Let's keep seeing that. Now, obviously, the biggest difference between this and the regular version is the attire. Now, looking at the attire itself, it's the coloring that is the biggest difference here, but also if you look at the bottoms, we have these little straps that go over on her hips on the side, and that's something that isn't on the regular release. Also, there's some design differences. So we do have the over one shoulder sculpt here. We have the open chest centered with that mesh that's sculpted on there, and then we have black trim all over with little silver studs, little intricate silver studs, painted all over the place, which is really, really cool. And instead of the left arm being mostly exposed like the regular version, it's mostly covered with just these little gaps that are painted with flesh color to make it look like it's see-through there, and they do a fantastic job there. Now, as I mentioned, we do have these straps that go above the side of the hips there. The bottoms are a little different than the other release, as we have a lot of openings on the side of the cheeks there, which is really unique for Mattel. A lot of times they're pretty tame when it comes to the backside on the women's figures, rightfully so, you know, I mean. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's a cool choice, actually. Add some character there. Now the knee pads are sculpted on like the regular, and then we have these black Chelsea green boots. So yeah, the chase version definitely looks cool. It's hard for me to decide which one I think looks better on displayed, but let's take a look at these side by side and let's make a decision. All right, so I just wanted to do a little side by side between these two, and I will bring in her basic series 122 figures in a second, but I just want to put these two next to each other, so if you're trying to decide which Chelsea to get, you can watch this video, look at them next to each other, and see which one you prefer. Now, they both have the hat and the entrance skirt, but I wanted to give you a real detailed look at the attire in contrast, so you could kind of see the difference. Now, in my opinion, I think the chase is very unique, but I think the regular version I almost prefer, to be honest with you. Now, it is important to note that on ringsidecollectibles.com, the chase is on back order and is also more expensive than the regular. So if you don't have a Chelsea Green or if you haven't ordered it yet, I'd get on there and order the regular version. Order a couple of them, for goodness sakes, because this figure freaking rules, and I think it's at a good price on Ringside. The chase, maybe wait until you can find it in stores, because it is a little pricey right now on Ringside Collectibles, and it's really, really a cool looking figure, but I do wish that it was more accurate as far as the coloring goes. But yeah, these figures are similar, but so very different when you look at the attire in contrast with each other. So with that being said, you know, you can make your own decision as to which one you think stands out and looks better. I just wanted to show you that. Now let's bring in her basic. So basic series 122, we have regular Chelsea, and then we have Chase Chelsea. Now, when this figure came out, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought it was a fantastic basic, and I stand by that. I actually have the chase signed by her, which I'll show probably at the end of the video, but I actually have the chase signed by her, and I love it. It's one of my favorite pieces of my collection, and I love the chase. Now, the regular version's cool because it's got that metallic purple and the white, but something about the all black attire, I just think it looks awesome. I think it's so cool. I love that they gave her in basic form these unique sculpted boots, but there is an issue here, and it's with the face. Now, it's crazy because when it came out, I thought, this looks pretty good. This does a pretty good job of capturing Chelsea's likeness, and I think it does. I mean, if you look at it, I think it does a pretty good job. But it is so very different than the Elite we're looking at today. It looks like two completely different people, so that's kind of crazy. So which one looks more like Chelsea? I would go with the Elite. But the basic is not bad. I just think the shape of the basic sculpt is a little too wide. I think that's what the issue is. But I'm going to be honest, now that I have these two next to each other, this basic does not look very good. I'm just kind of shooting my thoughts out loud here. The basic does not look very good when we put it next to the Elite. But yeah, it is very, very different looking, especially in that face. And as far as the attire and detailing goes, I mean, reminder, these Elites come with that entrance gear. So if you don't have a Chelsea figure, you're looking to pick one up, I would definitely go with an Elite. Probably the regular version because you'd get it at a better price. And you could probably skip on the basics for now, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's all of Chelsea's figures, very cool, and each one is very unique. All right, let's cover articulation. Now, I will say that's the only thing that I noticed, especially with this regular version of Chelsea, is she has very loose joints. She is very unstable here in all different directions, and that's an issue if I'm going to display her. I don't want her falling over. So starting off with the head, she doesn't have a whole lot of movement here because of hair sculpt, but that's normal for women's wrestling figures. Shoulders on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. We have an upper arm swivel, double jointed elbows. We can really reach across and sheesh. Wrong gimmick. We have a wrist that can swivel. It can extend and flex. We have that upper torso swivel, a lot of movement here. Waist swivel, we have that hip on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and because we have those sculpted knee pads, we have really good flexion here. It's not really inhibited by the boots. Now, we do have a boot swivel, even though it's kind of hidden. That joint is underneath there. And then the feet are really nice. Now, that did not come out how I intended it, but what I'm trying to say is the feet articulation is very nice. That's what I should say. There's weirdos out there. I got to be clear. But these are Elite style feet, which as of late, we've seen a lot of Elite women's figures that have basic style articulation feet that just go down and up. They don't rock side to side. But here we have Elite feet that rock side to side. Dorsiflex and planar flex. So we have Elite feet. Very, very cool here. All right, so overall, I give WWE Elite Series 108 Chelsea Green, both versions actually, an overall score of a 9.8 out of 10. These figures are freaking amazing, and the only reason that they don't have a perfect 10 is simply because they are missing some details in the attire. Now, I know these are Elites, and there are cost-cutting measures they have to take, especially when they require the extra tooling that we got with this hat, with this skirt, and with the intricate attire itself. But I wish the blue, purple, whatever you want to call it, had the tiger stripes, and I wish that the faded attire had more of a yellow color involved in it, pink fading into yellow. If these figures had those things, it'd be a perfect 10. I do think the face sculpt is a little bit off, but I do think it's a lot better in person. I think they did a good job, not perfect. But either way, these figures really stand out. And in my opinion, I honestly think this figure, as we stand now, is going to go toe-to-toe with Ultimate Edition Asuka for the LumberJillville Figure of the Year. Now, we still have a lot more figures to come out in 2024, but I honestly, in my own personal beliefs, I actually like this better than that Asuka. I don't know why. It's just so women's wrestling. I mean, look at these figures and all the detail. And I absolutely love that the hair has detail in it. Finally, I've been wanting this for so long. That added extra detail of the highlights in the hair really adds to the figure. So, as I mentioned, these figures are amazing. My personal favorite for Figure of the Year. But let me know in the comments if you think this figure is better than that Asuka Ultimate Edition. Now, I am going to say that the Chase version is more expensive on Ringside Collectibles. It's on back order. But if you haven't ordered either of these, get on Ringside Collectibles right now. Order the regular version. Use discount code LJV at checkout and get this figure ASAP because these are freaking amazing. It's what we're all about here in LumberJillville. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Now stay tuned, there's a lot of real exciting women's wrestling figures coming out, including that basic Katana Chance and that Elite Series 109 Bailey. Now thanks for watching and have a great night, y'all.